tonight, and I think we can get started, and then I'm just gonna keep an eye here, and I'll let people kind of pop in as they show up. But just to give you guys you want to give a little background of why we're doing the Pain to Purpose and where this all started?
So, pain to purpose, as we're leading into the conference, is just a perfect topic because, we think about the struggles, the setbacks, the challenges that each of us have gone in our life, and, how we get through those challenges and breakthroughs to get to that place of essentially purpose. For me, personally, I went through a lot of trauma, went through a lot of pain myself for about half of my life, trying to figure out how to, press forward from the pain that I had gone through. And through it, one of the things that healed me the most was trying to find what that purpose was. And my purpose was then to go and help other people. By helping other people, I was healing myself too. It was a really beautiful thing, actually. And so now I always tell people I'm obsessed with seeing other people get awesome. And I spend a lot of time, most of my day, trying to do that and fill into people. So from pain to purpose, that's what we're really hitting on. And we're so thankful you guys are here.
Yeah, and it's we really have had some powerful conversations. And for those of you who don't know who we are, I'm Diana. This is Micah, LaCerte, and we're in Kansas City. We own a company here called Hitch Fit, and then we also have a company called Soul Fit Retreats, and that's where we do faith and fitness based retreats and conferences. And so how we met our special guest tonight was actually because we are stepping into conference world. So we're hosting our first conference in Tampa in January 26th to 28th. So just in a few weeks from now. And so we kind of started digging into um, speaking and getting good at speaking on stages. And she happens to be one of the most amazing speakers that I know of, and she helps coach so many people on that side of things too. So we went to this signature talk workshop up in Milwaukee, and to learn how to be able to present on stage ourselves. And she was one of the coaches there, and we loved her immediately. And she just brings so much value, and so she is one of our speakers at our upcoming conference in January. And you guys know her. A bunch of you already know her from various things. Michelle's probably known her since out the womb. And so
She's
you
older
probably
than me, so yeah.
so you probably know more than we do. But we are very excited to have her here with us tonight to share her insights on. We have 3 breakthrough topics that we're going to talk about, and we're going to get her perspective on them. She is the founder of the Renew Your Mind Institute, and we are so grateful for her. So give it up for Diana Swillinger. Hey!
Thank you, thank you.
I'm going to change up my view here so that it goes so that you will be on it full screen. There you go. So as we're diving into this topic, so we are we have 3 keys to breakthrough that we want to talk about. And our first one that we want to get your insights on is when we're talking about breakthrough, it's kind of figuring out where do we need to have a breakthrough to begin with. And so we think of it as where is the hot spot, where is like this trigger point, where is this pain point, this thing that maybe it hurts and we don't want to look at it, and we don't want to touch it, and we want to run away from it. And in fitness world, this is my example that I use every week of when we work out, we sometimes get knots in our muscles, and the knots are really tight and they're painful. And sometimes Michael gets one like right up here on his neck, and then he comes and he's like, get it out. And so the way that I get it out is I have to take my elbow, or we have to take something, we have to dig into it, and it hurts, like it's painful to dig into it. But the way that we break it up and we release that pain and we get our range of motion back and we get back to a place of strength is by actually digging into that hot spot. So kind of the first piece that I'd like your insight on is just is those hot spots. And I also want you to be able to share part of like your story, because I know that's so powerful, and how you figured out what your hot spots were too.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons you asked me to be a speaker at Lean In Level Up in Tampa is when we were talking on the phone, I told you guys how I used to avoid pain by drinking alcohol, and I stopped doing that. So in order to stop doing that, I had to be willing to face pain. Because why do we drink? Why do we watch a bunch of Netflix? Why do we skip the workout? Why do we do all these things that we do? Psychologists tell us that we have 3 driving factors in the primitive part of our brain that just automatically does stuff. And that's to pursue pleasure, avoid pain. What was the other one? Avoid pain, pursue pleasure. Oh, conserve energy. So I was doing all that stuff all the time, automatically. We all do, unless we're willing to get out of our automatic response brain and put in our critical thinking and move past it. So for me, I could try not to get too emotional now because my sister is here, and having her here makes it even more emotional. But we had another sister, and she was older than 2 of us. In her late 20s, she was diagnosed with myelodysplasia, which then turned to leukemia. And I was a social drinker and all that stuff before that. But when she was not able to beat this disease and it took her life when she was just 33, my occasional, I'll have some drinks on the weekend to relieve some stress, turned into drinking 5 or 6 days a week. And I would do all the things that I never got diagnosed. I've never been in any recovery programs or anything. But if I were to take a look at what I was doing, is my life was ruled by having my next drink. I would avoid eating so it would have more effect. And I would do all these things to just get lost. So I wouldn't have to feel that horrible pain of losing my sister. Plus, I was angry at God, so I felt like I had nowhere to turn to make any sense of all of it. So this did go on for several years until finally, I mean, there's so much more to the story, but a lot of things were messed up. My marriage was messed up. Finances were messed up. Foreclosure papers delivered, pre-foreclosure papers delivered to our door, all these things going on. But something broke, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot do it anymore. And so I took a full bottle of vodka that I just opened, had a couple shots, like I was doing on every Friday night. And I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I tried quitting many times before, but as soon as I'd feel more pain, I'm like, I got to make it stop. So I took that bottle out to the garden and I dumped it out over a bunch of rocks. It still had the pour spout on it. So it was like, glunk, glunk. Come on. But as I stood there, I think something shifted in me. And I decided I need to be willing to feel pain. I need to be willing to see what the pain is, to discuss what the pain is, to take the cover off the pain and not run from it. Or I'm just going to keep going down this road and I'm going to become an alcoholic. I was doing some very unhealthy things and unsafe things. It had to stop. I mean, you guys are into faith and fitness. The other component of it that I don't always talk about is I cried out to God like nothing. Like, I can't figure this out. I've tried to quit many, many times. I can't do it. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to go all in on pain. It's going to feel like I can't do it, but you're by my side and somehow you're going to get me through it. So I don't even remember what your question was, other than we were talking about those hot spots and those pain points, those triggers, and that knot in Micah's shoulder, and you got to dig in and get your elbow. For me, it wasn't as much like I got to dig in. It was like I got to take the cover off, uncover it, and not be afraid of it, not keep it in the dark, and let it do whatever it's going to do, and be willing to work through it. And I tell my clients all the time when I'm coaching them, because, and I joke with my other life coach friends. We're like, it's kind of like a bait and switch. We tell everybody, if you get a life coach, you're going to feel better. And then we start working with them. We teach them how to deal with But I forgot what I was going to say again. That happens. But if you're willing to face the pain and you're willing to hang out with it, that's when you can work through it. That's when you can see what's on the other side. That's when you can grow. That's when you can gain more wisdom. And that's where you can get clarity on what to do. What do you want to do with the issue that's causing so much pain? You can't do anything with it if you keep hiding it, keep ignoring it, or shoving it under the rug. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I tell my clients all the time then with that, and then I'll finish answering your question with this. We all choose pain. We do choose pain all the time. We choose pain if we're going to get a tattoo. We choose pain if we're going to get a surgery. We choose pain if we're going to dig a sliver out of our hand. We choose pain if we're going to train for a marathon or lift some weights. We choose pain all the time. We can choose pain in any area of our life. It's a choice. And we might need help to do it. Some things might be really difficult, but pain's not a problem. Pain's an opportunity.
Mm. That's good.
Love that.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. It just, like, that's such a incredible perspective shift. And yeah, because if you think about it, like, if you don't deal with the pain, that's painful too.
Yeah, it totally is. It'll cause other pain too. It'll have a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it manifests into more than likely something extremely negative if you don't reveal it like you were saying. Yeah, that's powerful.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ooh, good. Talk about that at the conference.
We're going deep at the conference.
I only have 30 minutes. Come on.
Oh, yeah, that's just really powerful. And I guess so we can kind of move to the next kind of question, or just is the fear of the fumble or the fear of failure. So many people, maybe they've tried before, like you said, like you tried and you failed, and maybe sometimes people try so many times that they're like, I'm just not going to keep trying. Or sometimes people won't even attempt because they just feel like they don't have the strength, or they don't have what it takes to get through those things. So how do you address fear?
I love that. This is one of my favorite things to do with people. I call it worst case scenario. Well, I didn't make that up, right? We all talk about what's the worst case scenario, but I think we're all doing worst case scenario wrong. And well, I could try to explain it, or we could try to use an example from one of your guys' lives, Micah or Diana.
Yeah, sure.
But we're like, if I go, what's something people try? If I go try that new job and it's above my skill level, but I'm going to try it and I'm going to grow into it. I have a lot of the skills. I'm going to figure it out. But then we're like, oh, but maybe not. Because what if I fail? And then the worst case scenario is like, oh my gosh, I might get fired. I could fail and get fired. I should just stay where I'm at. Forget that. That sounds really scary. I don't want to face that. That's how we often play worst case scenario. We're doing it wrong because we're stopping without actually taking it all the way to the end. So I'll finish this example with the job, but then I'm going to do this with either Micah or Diana. Think of something you guys are maybe even afraid of right now. But to do worst case scenario right, I'm afraid if I take that job that's a little above my skill level, I might fail at it and then I might get fired. Then what? Then I'll not have a job. Okay. Then what? Then I guess I would look for another job. I think so. Sounds good. Do you think you might get hired at another job? Yeah, but what if I don't like that job too? Okay, or they fire me. That might happen. Okay, so then you get another job and you get fired again. What will you do then? Oh, I guess I'll try again. Are you telling me you're going to figure it out? Yeah. Okay. So oftentimes our fear is like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get fired. If I do that, I could get fired, or I wouldn't have a good job reference. That would be terrible. Well, is it really? Or are you just afraid of feeling the failure? and the emotion that goes along with that. What emotion would you feel? Would you be disappointed? Would you feel shame? Would you feel rejection? Maybe that's the worst case scenario. And then I'll walk people through that. Okay, what's that going to feel like? And we go all the way through the worst case scenario. When we do that, we find at the very end, there's almost never anything to be afraid of. I mean, we're talking about the things that we want to do in life, but we're afraid to do them. I mean, maybe if you go climb Mount Everest without any training, the worst case scenario is one you don't want to face. But that's not what we're talking about. So one of you guys give me an example. Micah, Diana, what's something that one of you has a little bit of fear around?
Honestly, what am I fearful of right now? I think it's not hitting the goals that I want for the conference, honestly. That's the thing that's my biggest fear right now.
As a fellow entrepreneur, I was 99% sure you were going to say that.
Right?
And one other thing that you need to keep in mind is we somehow always figure out a way to make things the hardest possible
Yes.
path
Yeah.
humanly that could be taken. I mean, every hike we do, we're like, we're going to go do the moderate. And then we somehow find ourselves scaling the side
On
of
the
a mountain.
expert level trail,
Yeah,
like,
anyways.
get here.
So I figure it's like a God thing going, hey, man, I need you to get tougher. So this is what
Yeah.
we're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so Diana, let's walk through the conference. Let's walk through the worst case scenario. So you might not hit the numbers. Is that what you're afraid of?
Yes.
Why is that scary?
Mostly just because I want to hit them. It's just there I kind of walk this stuff through, so it's like even with exactly the group that we have right now, I know it's going to be incredible. Like even if like no other person decided to come, so I'm already there mentally, but I still want to hit goals because I want to be able to pay the bills. That's probably a big one. And I want to have impact on a lot of people.
So why is that? Why would it be scary if you didn't hit the goal for this conference?
I don't know if I would say I'm scared. Um,
Or the fear or whatever. I mean, because that's what we're talking about, like fear of a fumble or fear of a failure.
yeah, it's a fear. Um, I don't let fear, yeah, that's good, Javier. Yeah, fear of losing money, fear of being embarrassed. Yep.
Yeah. So because another way I could have asked you about this is, what is the problem with not hitting the number? Like, why is that actually a problem?
Well, I don't know that it's a problem. I mean, more because for me it's like it's I'm in a place of surrender with it, but it doesn't mean that I don't still feel fear, like, it's I would just say I want God to have who's supposed to be there. And he always does that. So it's more just me getting over myself, and
Yeah.
it's more just getting over whatever my own pride is, because he always puts the right people in the room no matter what we do. At every retreat we've done, like, and I do this is what I do. I obsess about things, and then he shows up and shows off, and it's the exact right people, and it's the exact right amount of people, and it's the exact amount of people that we could handle, and it's the people that we were supposed to impact. So I know this to be true, but that doesn't mean that I don't still have, it's just it's a big thing that we're stepping into. It's new. I think it's
Yeah.
also scary. It's fear. We've never done a conference. We've hosted fitness shows before, so it feels a little bit like those used to, but it's kind of, those were a lot of, really hungry athletes. And so this is just a little different.
We figured
Right.
out how to hike on the hardest trail of the mountain by doing
Yes.
a conference in a city we don't live in.
Yeah.
Aha, right,
know,
instead of Kansas City.
yeah.
Tampa sounds nice. It's
I mean,
January.
the
Yeah,
weather, see, we're
Kansas
making the
Kansas
most of it.
City.
We're like, hey, we'll make a trip out of it. We'll go have some fun. And I think where it comes down to too is like we have this back and forth because our faith is strong, but I think God is having us navigate this way because he needs for us to lean on him even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that is what I'm feeling from the spirit and what I'm feeling, because like I'm getting easier and easier with it almost every day I wake up, regardless, because we know that the right people will be there, and we have to get out of our own way of what our expectations are. That doesn't mean we're not going to be driven and work as much and hard as we can every single day leading in, but we get in our own ways sometimes, which I think a lot of people do.
Well, I'll say I have two thoughts on this then. First is you kind of answered, Diana, the worst case scenario. You're like, we've done this before. When we get to the end, we see who's there. We've gone through it. The afterwards, we're like, we know that's exactly who God wanted there. We know that this is exactly how it was supposed to happen. And we feel good. So your worst case scenario about not hitting your goal for the number of people at this conference would be to end the conference feeling great about God has exactly the people he wants here. So worst case scenario is just actually reminding you like, oh, okay, so I've got some fear and I totally know it's going to be something to celebrate afterwards. And so I would then go to the idea of, okay, is fear of failure actually a problem? Sometimes it is if it keeps you from going forward. But if you guys are going forward and have a little bit of fear as you go, maybe that's not a problem. Maybe that is what keeps you in a healthy place of leaning on God and looking to him. If you had all the confidence and I'm not afraid, it's going to be totally fine. I got this. Then where are you leaning on God? So maybe it should be that way. A client of mine made me, well, I described a prop and then she made it for me and sent it to me. And I said, fear is not a big deal. And some people, take the Bible verses like, do not fear as like a command. We're not supposed to fear. And I understand that's true in many situations. God's telling us, do not fear. But on the other hand, why does he have to tell us not to fear? Because he knows as humans, we will fear. And he's the one who made us and gave us the ability to fear. It has some purpose. And so I don't think we need to just shoo it away every time. We could just pretend, like I told my client, maybe fear is just like a little ugly black felt doll. Remember when we were kids? Maybe you guys are younger than me. Maybe you don't. Brent, remember when we were kids at church and they would put the Bible characters on the felt wall and they would stick? You do remember that. Okay. Well, that's what this ugly little black doll is. He's got two little red beady eyes and it says fear across his chest. Not that scary, a little bit ominous, but not really. And I said, you can just take fear and stick him in your pocket and go along your way and go do whatever you're going to do with that fear with you. And I said, fear pairs very well with courage. Again, why would God tell us to have courage? He would never need to tell us that unless he knew we would have fear. So we must be okay if we have fear. And we can just put fear in our pocket. And then she made me a little felt white pocket that had courage across it. I could grab it. Should I grab it? In my drawer somewhere. So that's what I would say about fear of the fumble or fear of failure. Okay, so what? Have a
Yeah.
little fear.
Yep.
It's okay.
I love that. I love that walking through that process too. And because, for me, fear is actually usually a signal that I need to do something. And like my entire life has been stepping into things that I was afraid of doing, and so because I just am always like, okay, I'm more afraid of like, what if there's something awesome that's going to happen and I miss out on it because I was too afraid to do it. So it's why I've stepped into so many things in my life. And even with the conference, like the reason it's in Tampa is because our business partner, when we first decided to do this, or committed to doing it, lived in Tampa. And the last January, almost exactly a year ago, we had gone to Tampa and with him and drove all around, and we had an amazing day finding our venue, had so much fun. And you know, he dropped us off at the airport and he said,
drive fast and
drive fast and take chances. And then
drive fast and take chances. And Diana looked back and goes, no.
And that was
she doesn't drive fast, but she does take chances.
But that was the last time we saw him. He died 2 weeks later, and really sudden death, you know. And so we, you know, it was like, what do we do? Do we still step forward into this? And it was extremely clear that, you know, God was like, I told you to do this, but I didn't tell you it was going to be with him.
Mm.
And so we knew we were supposed to still step into it, and that he was going to do whatever he wanted with it. So it's like, when I say I have fear, it's still just me getting over myself and just being like, it's not about me. It's not about us. Like he has had this thing in his hand the entire time, and we're just supposed to do the work to like create the space for whatever's supposed to happen there. So I fully believe that, and it is surrendered. And I know that no matter what, like, I mean, just even you guys, you being there and Brent being there, and just, I'm like, I'm even excited for what comes after this, because like I said, just the people that I know are going to be in the room right now, there is something happening. There are people that are supposed to meet. There are people that are supposed to connect. There are people that are supposed to step forward and do more things in life together. And so I say fear, but just know I'm still in a good place, but I'm still a little, you know, that's just me getting over me. And it's not a thing that holds me back, but it is, you know, I have those moments, and when I have those moments, I have to get on my knees and be like, I'm sorry, it's not about me, you know. And so
That clears it up pretty quick when we really mean that, when we say that and mean that.
yeah.
You know, like, God's got people for me to help. When I make it all about me, I get nervous, I doubt, I have some fear. But when I make it about the work he's going to do, and I know he's going to do it, and the people who need me to show up for the betterment of their life, I like to tell people that I coach in the business area all the time, like, there's people that need you. Stop making it about you. You're screwing it up. Make it about them. Go help them. They need you. And when you shed that, I did write down, just, I wasn't sure what was going on for you, Diana, but I imagine what's going on for me, the other Diana. And I have the doubt and the self-judgment and the fear in the things I'm doing in my work all the time. And I'm like, okay, remind myself, set it down. Don't need that. It's not about me. Get over yourself. Keep going. So yeah, I agree with you.
Mm.
Love it. Woo, that was good. Let's tackle the last piece.
And Chatty, we'll get into questions. Hang on a second. We'll do questions at the end so that we can get through it. So write it down.
So the last piece is choosing our tools wisely. And for whatever that breakthrough in our lives is, whether it's in our faith or our fitness or business, our relationships, and, you know, our foundational wrecking ball tools that can bust through anything, as our faith is number one. And that's the big wrecking ball. And then our other little bit lower wrecking ball is fitness, and just taking care of ourselves, body, mind, and spirit. And so I just want to get your insight, even with your journey. I want to hear more about just how faith was such a tool for you to overcome the things that you did, because I really think that's your wrecking ball. But just speak to those, and then any other tools that you think you'd like to share.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, I like to think I think about other people a lot, and I like to give back, and I do. But, you know, just like the rest of us, I really I really am very internal much of the time. You know, we all are. It's like, don't be selfish. You're a Christian. I'm like, but I only know what's going on in here. Like, I'm so self-centered because I'm here. And so I guess where my faith came in a lot for me, it might sound self-centered. I'm not sure, but I just need to know God was faithful for me. I couldn't take on the burdens of everyone else. I don't know that I still do. And yet my job is to coach and help people. And I really get in and dig around and love helping them. But when I shut it down at the end of the day, it's me again, and in my pains, in my life, in my experience. And I I always have to remember God's faithful. He just is. If something's really hard right now, okay, God's faithful even now. Things are good right now. That's because God's faithful. Look at this. Will he get me through this? Of course. You know, it's like how he reminded the Israelites over and over and over. Look at what I did for you before. Look at how I provided before. Look at this. Why he took him 40 years through the desert so that he could have this eternal witness of how he provided manna after manna after manna. He's faithful. And so no matter what was going on in my life and the pain, and, you know, I guess I don't know what to say about when my sister died and I was so mad at God, but you know what? He was faithful. And I think that gave me permission to be angry at him. I'm like, listen, if you're a really good, loving God, I can just be angry at you as long as I want. And you're still going to be there. Not, and I wasn't testing him, but he was. And when I wanted to crawl back in his lap and cry and tell him how much I missed him, he took me right back. So that said, that, you know, my faith in him and his faithfulness has gotten me through all sorts of trials in my life. And then when you talk about like your arsenal of tools, your wrecking balls, the thing that I use every day now has to do with mind renewal, because I I know God had hope, God had joy, God had peace, God had contentment. He had all this stuff that he promises. And I went decades of my life being like, well, where is it? Why don't I feel it? Why don't I have joy? Where's the hope? I'm not hopeful. I'm discouraged. I'm not happy. I'm in pain. We're supposed to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. Maybe that's how we do it. Well, how do I do that? I have no idea. I don't know. I never had any tools to practically renew my mind. I mean, it's outlined in the Bible in all sorts of ways. And one of the ways I refer, or places I refer all the time, is Philippians 4, where Paul says, I've learned to be content, whether I have little or whether I have much. And I'm like, well, that's fascinating. That's fascinating. How did he do that? Because I've been looking for contentment. Well, when you back it up a few verses, he talks about all the whatevers that I call them the whatevers. You got to focus on the right whatevers, not the wrong whatevers. And I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, but whatever is good, whatever is holy, whatever is righteous, whatever is lovely, focus on these things. That's what Paul said a few verses before. He said, I am content. And I'm like, what? What is that? And couple that with me having a moment where my mentor at church, I was just struggling. I was seeing her like once a week, and I had a phone call with her one day when I depressed? Yeah, I guess I was. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. I just don't feel like doing anything anymore. And she finally said to me, Diana, I think you're discouraged. And I was like, I'm discouraged. I am. Oh my goodness, I'm discouraged. Well, if I'm discouraged and I know that now, I bet I could do something about that. And so with that model of what Paul taught, I can be content when I'm focusing my mind. You'll be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Well, how can I transform my discouragement? What can I do with that? So I spent years researching things. I mean, I had gone back to college to get my degree late, and I signed up for psychology courses. I started taking life coaching courses, reading books, following psychologists on the internet, and anything I could get my hands on to figure out this mind renewal thing and how my thoughts, what I focus on, is going to change my feelings. What is that? So everyone else is telling you, if you just think positive, then everything will turn out. If you just have the right mindset, then you're going to go do all the great things. And there is truth to that, but we're missing this piece in the middle. It comes from cognitive behavioral therapy. And that is, first you have a thought. That thought gives you an emotion, and that emotion will fuel what you do. So the number one tool I go to all the time, all that said, how I kind of came to this is I just wrote down in my own tool the cognitive behavioral therapy stuff, and I call it the mind shift tool. Because if you can just make one simple mind shift in your mind in a thought, well, you can change the rest. So if I'm thinking, there is no way I can fix my life, I'm going to feel discouraged. And when I feel discouraged, I lay comatose in my bed unless I'm cooking for the kids. But if I were to make a shift and say something I believe, like God can restore even this in his time. I don't know when that time is. Maybe it's after this lifetime and he restores it. I don't know. But if I could shift to that, God can restore even this in his time. I then, instead of feeling discouraged, feel hope. And that changes what I do. Now I'm not hiding in my bed. Now I'm maybe looking for some solutions, or reaching out to a different mentor, or changing more thoughts in my life, or changing jobs, or cutting off a relationship that's been dragging me down, or stopping eating white bread and eating eating better things. I ate way too much white bread over Christmas, you guys.
Shame on you.
I know. I'm paying the price. Like, why am I so headachy? So that's the tool I go to all the time. If we can shift a thought, not some Pollyanna positive thought, like everything's going to be great, because we don't believe that. But if I can shift to a thought that is believable, that can change my emotion, well, that changes everything. And I think we skip that a lot. We skip trying to figure out how our emotions are all tied together with that.
Good. Really good.
I love that, because you shift the thought. Do you believe, I mean, there's the shift the thought, that would be the first step there. That second step, I would imagine, would be extremely powerful too, with emotion, with how the thought itself made you feel. If you felt anxious or if you felt whatnot, that could maybe cripple you. And then going back on, the first three things you had mentioned with pursue pleasure, avoid pain, conserve energy, of what our minds think of all the time for the most part in those three steps. I think it's really powerful to, how can we shift the thought to then always get to it pursuing a pleasure in the emotion, and shifting that initial thought, as scary as that may be, into always the reward of something that could benefit someone or you. I think
well, the one piece I didn't mention in this tool, I have an extra column. I'm going to teach this tool at Lean In Level Up.
Oh, good.
And well, you didn't even talk about it yet, but if there's a bonus opportunity for people who sign up,
bonus,
I'm going to do a workshop where we dive into this, and I will get on my whiteboard and I'll work through it with anyone there who wants to. But there's what you think, what you feel, what you do, and what you get. And you can, once you see, well, here's what I think right now, here's what I feel right now, here's what I do because of that right now, so here's what I'm getting in my life because of that right now. When we go on and try to rework it, what do we want to do different? We can start in any column. We can be like, well, what if we changed a thought? How would that change things? What if we changed your emotion? You don't want to feel anxious, you want to feel confident. Okay. Or we can go all the way to the end and decide, well, what do you want to get? Like, you guys work in the fitness area all the time. Like, let's just say I'm 20 pounds overweight, and what I want to do is get down to my ideal weight, and I want to sleep better. So that's what I want to get in the end. And then we can back it up. If that's what I want to get, what do I have to do to get there? If these are the things I'm going to do to get that, what emotion drives this? And this is where it feels kind of magical sometimes, because sometimes the emotion you think you need to create that kind of action is not actually the one that will drive it. So we've got to dig into it a little bit sometimes. Like a lot of times when people have a great goal, they're like, I need to feel excited to get there. I'm like, no, 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 no. Excitement's going to last for a few days, and it's going to be hard to drum up excitement day after day after day after day if this is a goal you're going to have to work on for many days. Maybe the emotion you actually need, and excited feels great, by the way. We're all like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Woo, it's great. What if the emotion you actually need is determination? Well, guess what? Determination does not feel as good as people think it does. It doesn't. And that you're going to need a different thought to drive that. But that might be and it could be different for everybody, but that might be the emotion you need to actually drive that action so you can get what you want in the end. So, yeah, Micah, you have to notice where you're pursuing pleasure and that's sabotaging you from what you want to get in the end. And if you have a good get at the end, something you really care about, you will have the motivation then to change the way you're thinking about it and the way you're feeling.
Yeah. And it's so fascinating to me. I love all this stuff. Very, very good information. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's powerful. Well, yeah. So that's just such good stuff, and just such good stuff to just chew on. It's like I love meaty stuff that I have to just like chew on for a while.
You may be thinking about it tomorrow still.
Yeah, and I will be. I will be. That's, yeah, really good stuff. So I actually did make a slide, and I actually figured out how to even share my screen.
I mean, this is amazing.
I figured it out. So I'm gonna do it. Because I couldn't figure it out. I figured it out like the first week, and then I couldn't figure it out like the last couple weeks. Look.
Boom.
Amazing.
Wait, how do I make it go forward? Oh, there we go. Okay, so I made these, but we didn't look. Awesome,
yes, awesome human.
I take it.
I love awesome humans.
I just like, and then we went over our hotspots, our fear of fumbling, our choosing your tools, and so this is the conference we've been talking about, guys. Our Lean In Level Up conference, January 26th to 28th in Tampa. And for those of you that join us on the workshop, we would love for you to be there with us. Like, if you can kind of tell from this conversation, it's really going to be a powerful time. So we have a discount code for $100 off of any of the conference tickets. The website is leaninlevelup.com, but the coupon code is PURPOSE. And so for the next 48 hours, anybody that wants to join us, to see Diana, to see, well, Brent's on here too. We're going to have him say something here in just a second, but you can see we've got like an incredible lineup of speakers. And I have one other speaker, Alita Reynolds, who is the president of the group called Women of Faith, and she is joining us. She's not on the poster because I just found out, but she's incredible too. So leaninlevelup.com, and we would love you guys to join us. And bonus!
Yes!
Yeah! So for anybody that signs up for your tickets, within the next 48 hours, you get the bonus too that Diana was just talking about, which is your Renew Your Mind workshop, which is post-conference. So you'll have lots of things to chew on.
Yeah.
And then just to figure out. And honestly, the goal of this whole conference is to help us just lean into this hard stuff so that we can break through and so that we can level up in these areas of our lives. And that's in our faith walk, that's in our fitness and our health, that's in our relationships, that is in our businesses and finances, and then personal development. So we just have such an incredible team of speakers that are tackling all of these areas, and it's going to be powerful and beautiful. So you guys are all invited. And yay, I did the slides.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Nicely done.
So proud of you. Monica's going to be so proud of you.
I know. Monica that was my challenge. She's like, you have to figure out how to do the slides.
Oh, I'll send her a text.
Yeah.
I'll say, I saw slides.
Yeah, it's so good. Transition was great.
I did the slide. So I'd like to open it up for questions and for takeaways, and chatty chat. If you want to We'd love to hear
I think
what your
Chad wanted to talk
question
on,
was.
maybe, he had
gonna
a
go-
response on fear.
I'm gonna go to gallery so I can see everybody.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah,
All right, cool. All right, so I wanted to touch a little bit on this fear. You know, in the word, it 365 times it mentions that no fear. So if you are a parent, an uncle, a niece, or I'm sorry, an aunt, and you told your kids or your nieces and nephews something 365 times, it's probably pretty important, right? You guys following me?
Mm-hmm.
365 times in the Bible.
Is
Yeah.
365 times in the Bible, in God's word, God tells us not to fear. So that there's a reason for that, guys. Now, we're still going to have fear because we're humans. But what that truly means is to lean on God and to show up, and God will do the rest. 365 times. Are you kidding me? Hello? That's big time. And so what do we do as humans? Worry, 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 worry. But then you look at your whole life. You guys look at your life. Look at all the things that you worried about and you were concerned about. And look what you got through. So all that worry and concern, you know, was really a waste of time. I'm not saying it's a waste of time, but a lot of it's not necessary because God has you the whole time. And Mike and Diana, like, you guys are in 70 plus countries, right?
82.
Pitch fit. Oh, well, I said plus, so. But I appreciate it. And you've helped lose over 600,000 pounds of fat. That's incredible. Are you kidding me? You guys have done that. This conference, of course, what? I mean,
I'm assuming all the speakers will have their shirts on too, so it will be a little bit different than our fitness expos and whatnot. Be a little bit different. They'll be.
You never know about Brent.
And have food and be
Wait.
hydrated, but I have no
What
idea what we're getting into.
True. What I'm saying though is that I mean, that's incredible. And so think about all these things that you've done and you've gotten through. Don't worry about this conference, man. God's got you.
Yeah.
I did kind of a self-study on this. So for a year, what I did is I wrote out the major things that I worried about or I was concerned about. Not just there's small things, but like the major things. And the majority of 90-something% of the things that I was really concerned about in a year, it never happened. It always was in my favor. The majority of things that we worry about, yes, of course things don't go our way, of course. But the majority of things that we worry about, they go the opposite. They don't turn out how you think they will.
Yeah, that's great, Chatty. I mean, it's so true. How many times do we talk ourselves out of doing something that could lead to greatness? Like so often. And
all the time.
Diana and I, what we've gotten good at is, and she's told this story before, like, the first time as a kid that you decide that you're going to jump off of the high dive and how terrifying that is. And, the thought of falling on the board or it hurting or, whatever, and you end up doing it. And then as a kid, you just do it over and over and over again because you've done it before. That kind of applies to most everything we have some level of fear towards, like you do it the first time you go into the gym, you're feeling intimidated because you're not in the shape that some of the other people are in. You think you're going to get judged, whatever that may be. And so it prevents people from actually starting their journey because of that fear so much. And then they go there and then they realize, oh my gosh, like these people really care that I actually get healthy. A majority of people that are fit want to see other people get fit. And so I think it's a really beautiful thing you were illustrating there, Chatty, is just like, you know, so much of what we say that stops us from going and doing amazing things, where we got to just break through that, man. You got to get through it and just do it.
Yeah.
The key is, and you guys know this, but the key is you do what you can do. You let God know what you want to do, and then God will meet you where you need to be met.
Yeah.
I mean, God has done that for you guys time and time and time and time
For
and time
sure.
again. God has done it for me time and time and time and time and time and time again. And this is no different. You know,
Yeah.
of course, there's a lot of uncertainties, of course, but that's nothing compared to what, you know, I mean, I'm just letting you guys know that it's going to be good.
Yeah. I believe it.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Yeah. Diana, before I want you to, can you please tell people how they can get in touch with you? And then I want to hear from Brent next, but can you just tell your website and just the things you have available and how people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. The best place if you want more of this kind of stuff that I'm talking about is to check out my podcast, the Renew Your Mind podcast. And you can also find me at my website. I'll send you to the easiest place too. That's the podcast link for it, and it's rympodcast.com. That'll give you the archives of the podcast, but also anything else I have going on. Like I have a free class online coming up later this month, and other opportunities. They'll always show up on that page.
Well, that's awesome.
Sweet. Love it.
Awesome.
All right, Brent, what you got?
Well, a couple things. First of all, Chatty Chad, thanks again for reminding me of that 365 no fear. I think of it once in a while, but I don't do anything with it. And so I'm going to text both my sons, the 31 and 29, and just remind them, because I know they face fears all the time and they need to hear it, not just from their heavenly father, but from their earthly father. So I need to be more consistent with that. So thank you for that. I think that if this conference is half as good as these calls, I think I've been on like 4 or 5 of these, and I have just loved these. The gold that I take away from every single person that speaks and shares, like Diana tonight, and the other people that chime in, and from both of you, it's so good. I just love it. I think for Diana to follow someone like her, I follow her on social media. She's a good friend of mine. I listened to her podcast. She has a lot of things that she is challenging me with. She'll post something on social media, and I know sometimes she wonders if anybody cares about it, or if every time I see it, it just does something to me. Because for me, what you're talking about with this mind shift, it's easy for me to go to the gym tonight, right? So after this, I can go to the gym tonight, and I can work on my physical stuff, and I can work on some knowledge-based stuff. I can learn some things tonight. I'll probably study some things tonight. I can figure out ways to make more money so I feel a little bit better financially. There's a bunch of things I can do. The mind shift one isn't as easy for me. And I don't know if I don't want to be lazy with it. So Diana, what do you think it is for someone like me and maybe others where the mind shifting the heart even for me sounds easier? Why is it tricky for someone like me to renew my mind and shift my mind in places it needs to go? What do you think I'm up against?
Well, now we're just going to go real deep into your psyche and tell you that you have a whole bunch of beliefs. You have a belief system, and letting go of that threatens your ego. That is the basic psychological way to talk about it. So it's very scary. Just like if we believe something in our faith all our lives, and then we're like, wait a second, I've believed that for 30 years. Is that not true? Did I misunderstand this part of my faith and who Jesus is, or what he meant when he talked to that? Oh my gosh, this kind of shakes me up. And that doesn't happen that often usually, because we do feel like we're always learning about God. We're learning about Jesus, but we're like, but I know me, and I know who I am. Wait, what do you mean? I might need to change something I believe about me or how the world works. That's upsetting us inside. And so, I mean, talk about fear. It is. Or we could feel a little bit of shame, or seems like a lot of work. You want to avoid pain, pursue pleasure, conserve energy. This is why it doesn't feel hard to me. I'll shift my thoughts all day long, but I'm going to need Micah and Diana to get me into the gym. Here, this is all I'm lifting, you guys.
Well, that and white bread.
White bread.
White weights and white bread.
Yes.
That's so good. That's a good challenge for me, Diana, but it makes me realize that I need to be more consistent with my renewing of my mind. I can't just do it once every few weeks or once a month or something like that. I'll get the same results as if I go to the gym once a month. I need to be more committed to that. So 2024, I need to renew my mind a little bit more, because I think it'll have an impact on the people around me that need my mind shifted a little bit, because maybe I'm the one more voice they need to hear, and I need to be in the right place. So this is so good tonight. Thanks for sharing, Diana, and everybody else that has shared as well too. I just love these workshops. Thanks for pushing through with all of this. There's a million reasons not to do workshops for a few months. And you've chosen the right reason, right? To honor God and to honor people. So kudos to you. Thank you.
Brent is the best.
Yes.
Javier, you have anything to say?
You know, I deal with fear as well, and some of my accountability partners, you know, they kind of point it out sometimes, because sometimes I don't even see it, but they're like, "Hey, you know, you're avoiding this, right? Why are you avoiding this?" And it always leads down to, yeah, I'm pretty scared of that, right? So we just avoid it, and sometimes we don't even see it. We just kind of like put it in the back burner, just kind of leave it there and just ignore it. I guess that's a good word. Ignore it and ignore it and ignore it. And, you know, my friends tell me, they're like, "Hey, you know, it's just going to eat away at you, and just little by little eat away at you until it becomes a giant elephant." So be more open to that and tackle it, right? Lean into that fear, lean into the things that you're ignoring, because you're going to be a lot happier that way. So
That's
that's
great.
that's what I got.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Good stuff.
I got a question for you real quick.
Thanks for coming, Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse. So when you go into the steps of, when you were talking about your addiction, you talked about the fact, I'm very interested in how someone makes a pivot, like legitimately makes a pivot psychologically, and why some people just can't do it for whatever reason. And so I love that you said you need to be willing to feel the pain to almost then fix the other pain. I love that. And the question was, what would you tell people after they've made the commitment? You made the commitment that night by pouring that alcohol out and giving it to the Lord. After that commitment is made, what is the first step?
I did not know what I was doing at that time. I just knew I could not go on any longer. And I often tell people, like, I made a huge, it's like we've heard like the idea of, if you get in a ship and it's in New York and it's pointed towards England, and then it shifts 1 degree, wink, and it's going to end up in Egypt. So it's very, very small, and it changes everything. But then the ship takes off. Well, you can't tell you're on a different road. Nothing looks different. But eventually, once you're like way down, you're like, wait a second, that 1 degree changed everything. Where are we? That's kind of what it was like for me. So I was in a lot of pain while I was drinking and using it to soothe the pain. And then when I stopped drinking, I was just in a lot of pain, and I had nothing to soothe it. And so nothing felt better at all. And that's what I was willing to go all in on. Like, maybe, because I felt like achy and headachy for months. And so I had physical pain. And then I had all the emotional pain. And I don't even know that I've processed through all the emotional pain I'd been carrying around with me then. I've been sober for over 13 years. I'm still working through some things, and maybe I will for the rest of my life. So, like, what's the next step, Micah? I didn't have a next step, other than not running, not hiding anymore. I'm like, I'm just going to go through life not hiding. That's it.
So,
It was
so that,
after that I searched, I'm like, I need something now. I can't just stay in pain forever. I bet there's tools. And so I started looking.
so the main reason I asked you with the different things and the traumas or addictions or whatever that people go through, I'm fascinated with specifically, like, is that first step, were you hiding your addiction from a lot of people?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I'm getting to. I'm wondering if that first step maybe, and I don't know if you took this path, was it starting to communicate that you had an addiction or you have an addiction and you were coming clean? Was that accountability, or did you just not talk about it anymore? You
I
just
did not talk about it. I was ashamed.
Mm,
I can't go, what I can say from that time, and we're not, like if I were to get on a stage, I'm going to get on a stage at Lean and
Yeah.
Level Up, and I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to get into those first several years after it, because I was still like in the muck.
you felt very like you were surviving during that period of
I
time.
was surviving.
Yeah.
I was in a painful marriage. It got worse.
Mm.
I didn't have support at home to not drink. There was still alcohol, and I was being criticized for changing and not drinking. Something, we talk in addiction world, they talk about rock bottom. I don't know. Was that a rock bottom? I don't know. I just hit I felt more like I hit a point of where I was going to no return.
Yeah.
I was going to either keep going down this, and I was just going to be a full-blown alcoholic and screw up everybody's lives around me, or I was going to get back with God and be like, I'm not running from you anymore. I'm going to have to face you, feel all the shame for everything I've done, and deal with live through and deal with all the pain in my life. I didn't even know what to change for years. So my life just sucked sober. That was it. That's all I did first. It may not be a typical path. I don't know that mine is in a lot of ways, but none of ours are, I guess, really.
Well, you're incredibly brave and courageous to make that choice. And, I don't know you extremely well, but very proud of you for doing that. And now you sharing the story is so powerful. And I think in your daily, you get the opportunity, which we do as well. You gain joy almost every single day off of just being able to be a part of someone else transforming.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
absolutely.
I think the thing that I just think about is like what you're saying of like sometimes, I don't want to gloss over, like it's like when we find those pain points and dig into them, like it's not gonna feel good, and it's not like, oh, it just doesn't feel good for a second and then it's good. Like it might be a really long time that it doesn't feel good. So I think that's that's an important thing for people to know too. It's not just some quick easy journey. Like it can be, whether it's addiction or abuse or trauma that you're like leaning into, it's like it could be painful for like your entire life.
Yeah.
Yes, but it doesn't mean it's not hopeless. It just means, it's like that thorn, or it's like, again, Paul, right? The Romans 7 or 8, when he talks about the thorn in his side, we don't know what that was. It doesn't tell us what it was. And I think God didn't have it say what the thorn is on purpose, so we could all just go, oh, I have a thorn.
That's our thorn.
Or
Yeah.
it's not as bad as Paul's was, or mine's worse than Paul's was. We don't want to do that. It's just, no, we each have our thorn.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but that doesn't mean you don't get to be content. It doesn't mean you don't get to be happy. So all this stuff I've done with shifting my thoughts, renewing my mind, I learned how to find joy regardless of what was going on in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because the joy wasn't coming from my circumstances. The joy is coming from God. Well, I just needed to allow myself to let that in some way. And I did that by changing my own experience. So I'm like, okay, I'm going through pain, and the joy of the Lord is here. He is sovereign. He has the ability and will and promises to redeem all. He heals all of it. Why can't I have joy for, why wouldn't I have joy for that? If I am choosing to meditate on that, there you go, Brent, the renewing of your mind, we're just reminding ourselves of the truth all the time. And I teach people practical ways to renew their mind, because I figure they get a lot of ideas at church on how to think about God differently, how to pray better, how to have him in your life more, what to, how to learn about what Jesus did here and there. And so when I coach, my primary client is Christian women, but I coach others as well. But I'm like, let's talk about this practice that's just similar to meditating on the word and filling our mind with God's truth. And let's just do it with some regular daily thoughts too. And make it a practice. And sometimes that's an easier place to start. Like if we've really lost trust in God, well, let's not worry about that right now. Let's just change a thought over here and get a little more truth over here. We'll come back to that one later. And so it is a journey. So yeah, you can have the pain the rest of your life, that thorn, and you probably will, but it's not like it's going to be excruciating for the rest of your life if you're willing to do work around it and keep growing. And I think we can't grow on our own. I think we need to lean on other people. We need Diana and Micah's in our life. We need Brent's in our life. We need Javier's in our life. Javier helps dads in fitness and finance and family. And we need people like that. And so I get coaches. I lean on people like Brent. All those, you guys talked about the coaches that work at the Signature Talk workshop. Oh, we all help each other out. We coach each other, call each other up. And I've got other coaches and mentors in my life. I need help getting through these things. I need the tools other people have for me. I need their wisdom. I need their encouragement. I need their support. That's why I love what you guys are doing, because that's what you're bringing everyone together and giving them tools and giving them wisdom from different minds, different people from different places, and the support. I haven't been in person with you guys outside of that workshop you guys attended, but I can see it in everything you do online. You're like right there next to people, speaking life and encouragement and hope into what they're doing. And we need that to give us the strength to do the next great thing or to work through that pain. So I'm so excited to be a part of what you guys are doing. This has been a real treat to be with you all here tonight in Tampa. You guys are going to like bus it or carry 50 suitcases doing it out of town, right?
Yeah. If nothing else, we're in Tampa.
Yeah.
We'll see the ocean.
Yeah, it's just really powerful stuff. And and like what you said, it's just like the whole point of this is we take that pain and we use it for purpose. And I think that's what you're doing. That's what we're doing. And that's the whole thing, is like you lean into it, and yeah, it might hurt, but you're going to use it for purpose. And it's there's going to be a lot of joy and fulfillment in that no matter what. So yeah, awesome stuff.
I wanna say one thing about fear, that something that we recently did, and it connected to the mind. So we all talk to ourselves a ton. We talk to ourselves more than anyone else talks to us, and the things that we put into our mind. So Diana and I went to Norway this past year. I wrote a post about this, and we stepped on this rock that was absolutely bonkers. I mean, it's 3,500 feet off the ground. You're not harnessed in. It is terrifying. Now, we're not scared of heights, but you got to hike multiple hours up to get it. Your legs are tired. Just about 3 minutes before I got on that rock, I slipped and fell on the snow leading into it. Okay. So there's a lot of red flags, and I go, well, I'm not going to fall twice, right, Lord? So that first step getting out to the rock, it's called Crack Bolton. You guys, Crack Bolton, you look it up, it's insane.
Terrifying.
It took us 3 days after we got off that rock, we obviously survived, to come down from it. And I was like, Lord, thank you for allowing us to survive. I promise you, Lord, I will never do that again. But what it created in me now was that anything that I do going forward that creates fear, I'll always have that and go, I already did that. I can for sure survive that. And so it's like this perspective thing on how now I view fears.
My daughter does the same thing, but it's with Space Mountain from Disney World.
Yes, that's awesome. Space Mountain, I love Space Mountain.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's good. Well, thank you so much. Like, what an incredible conversation, and just appreciate your time and your wisdom and your insight, and can't wait to see you. Can't wait to see both of you, hopefully all of you
Yeah,
in person
it's
in
gonna be
Tampa.
powerful.
I know it's going to be powerful, and I'm in for the ride for the next 3 weeks to see what God does, because I think there's more coming. And we're here for it. So thank you guys, and just appreciate you, and I'll get the replay up, and so that I can share it out for the people that couldn't be with us, because
This is powerful.
definitely, yeah, don't want people to miss out on this. So thank you so much.
Don't forget to sign up within the next 24 hours so I can do
Yes.
a workshop with you in February.
Yes.
Maybe
48
Javier will
hours.
come. He's not Tampa, but he is in Miami area. I
Yeah.
think.
Oh yes, lean and level
Drive
up.
up.
Level up.
Join us.
Yeah, not too far
Yeah.
away. I was just in Tampa this weekend, so
Ah,
hey.
no
Well,
big
they already
deal.
miss-
Gonna be
they
legit,
already miss
dude.
you.
And then after the VIP pluses, after we're taking you guys over to MI40 Gym, which is a super legit gym. We got the whole gym to ourselves for our VIPers, and we're doing a crazy workout on
Well,
Sunday. It's gonna be
everybody
crazy
can
for
do it.
some people, and then some
it'll be
people
crazy,
it'll
some
just
people
be
it won't be
yes.
crazy.
Wait, I downgraded now.
Okay,
There we go. We can do those too.
Yeah, I'll run the camera and that'll be fine. I can, whatever you need me to do besides work out.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome. All right.
Thank you
cool.
so much, everybody. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Bless you
guys.
all.
Guys,
Bye. Way to go, Diana. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Thumbs
Thank
up.
you,
Night.
Javier. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you,
Bye,
Chad.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Javier, take care.
Guys, great
Yeah.
job. Keep it up.
Yep, way to go.
Thank
See
you.
you, Robin.
keep your
Bye.
head up.
All right.
We will.